Changes to consulting firms. So there's links to that, which I can send out. We'll send out after as well. Some really interesting movements in the Big Four. So they really realizing that the skills shortage, there's especially skills shortage in accounting, but also there's people who, a lot of expats across the world that want to reconnect with friends and family. And, in the past, sometimes your only option was to leave the organization in order to do that. So here's what they offer: remote working overseas for up to 8 weeks, work anywhere in any other country, extended working holidays, and we need to hire, for example, talent into Australia. So they're hiring people overseas who are working into Australia, even though they may not be able to be physically here yet. So all of that is happening. And one of the things I want to caveat here, though, is these are organizations who've had global infrastructure and offices and a legal way to work in other countries. This is not possible and opens up for every organization, but they have made really wise use of that in order to ensure that they remain, I suppose, have enough people, remain profitable with regards to their workforce. So absolutely exciting stuff here that they're doing.
And these are big organizations that have been around for a long time that are fully embracing this.
Yeah.
But it's not just within those tech firms where you're seeing big changes happening. So in the education sector, massive changes that are going on in education. Obviously, it's such a huge part of going to university, and I remember this well, and sitting in lecture halls just like this. That was the standard part of your day, and also standard part of your day, going back hundreds of years. In fact, I think Glasgow's one of the first universities, back in the 1400s, and they would have the equivalent of these sorts of lectures, where everybody is sitting around and watching the lecture that's happening. But there's a number of universities now that have now shifted to a very different sort of hybrid model. One being Sunshine Coast University here in Australia and the Gold Coast, where they've decided that all physical lectures are no longer happening anymore. And that was from the feedback from the people on the ground and the students on the ground, saying that they weren't really getting the value from sitting in the lecture hall, where they could be having the same thing coming from a screen or an asynchronous recording, as Christiane was talking about before, of being able to consume that content differently. But what they really wanted was the face-to-face discussions with their lecturers after the fact. So they've decided, no, the lecture halls are now gone, and we're going to double down on the face-to-face tutorials that are happening, which radically changes what happens, both how the universities operate, but also think of the physical infrastructure. What do you do with these lecture halls now? I mean, do these become cinemas or theatres, or do you have plays there, or do you just bulldoze them down? I mean, it's like there's some big investments that were made here for a long time that are now fundamentally going to shift. So, and Christiane, just in the last couple of months, you've been experiencing this firsthand.
Yes. So I've enrolled in a psychology bachelor last November. So I'm just finishing my first trimester. It's fully online, it's fully remote, all exams. It is absolutely beautiful. It is easy. Everything's recorded. Super smooth experience. I can highly recommend. I wouldn't even go back into university, let alone the travel time I have to endure. No. So this really works for me as a business model, and there's really good learning still. It's good.
But there are challenges and benefits of this as well. And what we'd like to do is to ask some questions. And this is a sliding scale of kind of 0 to 10 of whether you agree or disagree with these. And here, and there's loads of things for us to look at, but here's 3 that we've distilled down that we think kind of point out some of the key ones. And so what we'd love is to kind of get some feedback from the group here of, well, what do you think of these, and do you agree with these statements that much as well? So one of the things that has been raised a lot is that young workers are going to struggle. So if I think about early on in my career, a lot of it was that networking, that initial learning things physically there on the job, it would have been quite different coming in as a grad into a large organization, and not having that sort of physical interaction that was going on. The next one is it's creativity, and I know some people think the creativity is going to be really stymied by not being remote, but there's been a hell of a lot of creative stuff done in the last 2 years, and potentially it levels the playing field between workers with disabilities or with mental issues, and all sorts of different diversity there as well, right? So potentially there's some real benefits in there too.
Definitely.
So, and some and this is interesting, because even just with this limited subset here, this mirrors some responses which are saying it is going to be harder for those young people working from home. Creativity, not so much of an issue, and yes, it is really beneficial to level in that playing field, because we actually took these questions from a YouGov, which are one of the big polling companies in the UK, and they basically echoed exactly what you just said there, that yes, it's going to be harder for young people. So what do we do, right? If this is still going to happen, what do we do, put in place in order to make to make it easier? Creativity, potentially less of an issue, and hopefully this is leveling the playing field and being more diverse. But these are also changing. The thoughts about this is changing rapidly. We've seen a change even in the last 6 months since we've been running these presentations of what the results are going to be.